I've got one question for you. Are you ready to get your game on?
The longest-running off-road and action motorsports radio show on the planet is coming to you live with the biggest guest in motorsports. Here is the only man on the planet who can pack this much dirt slinging and tire slaying into 2 hours a week. Sit back, strap in, and be prepared to get your ears blown. Here is Jim Beaver and the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
Good morning. Welcome to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. We are lit up by Rigid Industries, schooled by Dirtfish Rally School, anywhere as possible with General Tire, KMC wheels like no other, and audio provided by MTX Audio. And I got to tell you, it has been one heck of a weekend. Myself, I was up in Colorado hosting the Ultimate Snowmobiler and Winter Terracross, but not only that, but we had some Formula Drift going on, some Supercross, and a ton of other stuff. Speaking of Formula Drift, right now, our first guest, Mr. Ryan Sage, we are going to kick off the Formula Drift post-race interview. How's everything going, Ryan?
Hey, it's going great. Thanks a lot for having me on.
No, I appreciate it, man. I got to tell you, we've been doing this show for I don't know how long now, and it's been a long time coming. We've interviewed a lot of people around the sport of drift, a lot of drivers and personalities, but never had you on air. So welcome, man. I'm happy to have you on air.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
So, kicking this thing off, Long Beach, this is the one everybody waits for all off season. It seems like it takes forever to get here. It finally got here, and I got to tell you, it didn't disappoint.
No, it was a great way to kick off the season. Everybody's always paying attention to the first event of the year to see how it goes and what new things people can expect from drivers and from the series. And, this year we have, a much smaller field because we've got the Pro 1 series and the Pro 2 series. And so what we've seen is, the dynamic driving has really kind of become a staple, at least in this first event. From what we can see, the top 32 battles, which in the past sometimes are gimmies for certain drivers, have become real challenges. And, the things that we tend to see later on in the year seem to happen earlier on in the event this time around. So, from a competition standpoint, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, well, and I got to ask you, I've been following Formula Drift for quite a while, and refresh my memory, though. When was the last time a number 1 got knocked out in the first round by a number 32?
Oh, historically, it doesn't happen that often. I don't know the exact time that may have happened, but, yeah, it doesn't happen that often. Typically, when you're a number 1 qualifier, you're facing the 32nd qualifier, so you're facing somebody that's either having some challenges or that's working on their skill set. But after last year, we converted to this new program where you basically have the top 32 drivers plus 8 top drivers from the Pro 2 series. So it's essentially the best of the best, and we kind of saw that come into play in this first round.
Yeah, for sure. And I was talking with Jared last week, and and even talking with Turk, the end of last year, and even last year, the competition level, the bar has been raised so much, and there's not an easy round anymore. It used to be, if you qualified in and you were, a top 10, it's pretty much a gimme. You're going to get out of the first round, and it's not the case anymore. The competition level is just that high.
Yeah, sometimes you have to remind people that, these vehicles are the highest horsepower stock chassis vehicles in the world, essentially. A lot of these guys are pushing 900 plus horsepower up to 1200 plus horsepower in these stock chassis vehicles. And they're essentially riding on tires that you can go buy at the store. So this is a real story about horsepower, grip, tires, and then obviously the drivers and their car control, and, just seeing how they've excelled over the past few years has been incredible. I spend a lot of time going into our content library and putting up old videos from some of our past TV shows, and you'd be amazed to watch the difference between 5 years ago and now. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, I think the easiest way to explain that would be Tanner Faust. Now, obviously, Tanner, I still, he's one of the best drivers in the world, hands down. But from the time he left Formula Drift to the time he came back, I mean, we had him on air a couple weeks ago, and he was saying, he's like, it's just crazy how far the sport has evolved, and I think we saw that. Obviously, qualified into the top 32, but he had some struggles, and I think it's going to be a while before he finds his groove again. He'll find it. I just think it's going to take a bit of time because the sport is grown that much.
Well, boxers and fighters tend to say, they use the term ring rust a lot. I think that's probably a factor in Tanner, but I think he's coming out with a brand new chassis. It's a longer wheelbase. They probably didn't get a ton of time in development. He's only doing 3, maybe 4 events this year, so he's really going to have to spend some time in that vehicle and get used to it. I mean, it's obviously making a horsepower, and if you're at media day, he was throwing down some pretty tremendous runs, and a lot of the other drivers were seeing that as well. But when you're talking about being in the moment and 20,000 plus fans, and you haven't been able to maybe get the amount of time in the car that you'd like, things don't always go your way. And he, it was unfortunate for him. He got knocked out in the top 32, but so did so many other top guys. I expect Tanner to bounce back, have a good round 2, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking, you mentioned it a little bit. We were talking about, kind of the evolution of Formula Drift this year and how Pro 2 and now with the separation with, with I guess the Pro Series we'd call it. But, talk about, the changes this year, because there's not only that, but we're bringing in this whole World Championship this year. I mean, this is a big year for Formula Drift.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what we've been doing has kind of been coalescing over the past 5 years or so. I mean, our vision and where we kind of want the business and the sport to go is, we really think that it's a global sport. We've seen in our individual event series outside the U.S., especially in Southeast Asia, the success of the sport seems to carry over from region to region. And so we've been kind of building these events outside the U.S., and we eventually wanted to take it to a world championship. And so we announced that at the end of SEMA in 2013, used the 2014 season to kind of ready it up and then be ready to go by 2015. So we've got 10 international events. The first one was Long Beach. It'll be the rest of the U.S. domestic series, and then we have 3 events outside the U.S. that will count towards the World Championship, one at Fuji Speedway in Japan, one at Saint Eustache in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and then one in China, probably sometime in middle November, and we're looking forward to announce that probably in the next month or 2.
Yeah, and I think, this year, not only that, but you guys have the past couple of years really brought in a diverse group of drivers. I mean, some of the best from all over the world. I mean, we look at, your winner this week in Osbo, and we've got a lot of, the Japanese drivers. I know Mad Mike making the announcement. He's going to run a few rounds this year. I mean, it truly has become a global championship.
Yeah, we were really excited to see Mad Mike come back. I know he's been working on a really incredible car and a campaign. He was actually supposed to be at round 1, but was unable to get his car on an air freight over, and then subsequently he had an injury. But it looks like he'll be back, and he's going to try to do the whole World Championship along with some of the other guys. But yeah, I mean, we've really just seen kind of the series become kind of the epicenter for drifting and the quality of drifting, around the world. If you want to compete at the highest possible level, you kind of need to be in Formula Drift. And for some reason, whatever it is, whether it's, the events that we produce or it's the markets that we go to, the drivers just seem to kind of take it up to another level. You mentioned some of the Japanese guys coming over. There's one guy in particular, this guy, Masashi Yokoi, who didn't have the greatest event this past weekend, but we saw him do really, really well in the Formula Drift Japan Championship, actually beating Osbo. So, we're expecting a lot of new and exciting things from drivers and competition, and it could be a long season, but I'm sure it'll play out pretty fun for everybody.
Yeah, and one thing I've always admired about Formula Drift, and this radio show is kind of, I don't know, we call it Action Motorsports. Obviously, Formula Drift a huge part of that, but it's kind of the motorsports that are a different breed. And the thing I've always appreciated about Formula Drift is you guys do have a great TV package, but you've totally embraced. The internet movement and you've kind of thrown the the playbook out the window of traditional motorsports and you guys your live stream, I mean, it's basically a TV production, and you're pulling in TV type numbers with the live stream. I mean, social media, you've embraced that. I mean, it's it's kind of your live stream has kind of defined Formula Drift. I know people look forward to the live stream probably more than they do the TV show.
For sure. I mean, yeah, we believe that our market reacts well to kind of the social media / digital platforms. It's always been something that we focused on ever since we tested doing a live stream, over 10 years ago. But yeah, we had 300,000 viewers watching our live stream this week, and at one point I think we're at 25,000 concurrent. So, it's something that we put a lot of effort behind. It's something that we want to continually grow. We still do a lot of the traditional, marketing and TV aspects that we think are necessary to kind of be in the space. But our audience reacts the best to the forms of media that we've been kind of putting our effort behind. That's social media and live stream and having a good presence there. So if you ever watch an event weekend and you go on the chat rooms or you watch some of the comments and things like that, I mean, the engagement is just unbelievable. And we've been really lucky in the sense that, we've been rewarded, to be the number 2 in social media just behind NASCAR. But the interesting thing is that our engagement is probably, tenfold that it is with their particular brand, just because the demographic is so much more active on social media. So, yeah, we love it, and it's something that we've totally embraced.
Well, and along those lines, I mean, your social media has grown, but you guys literally have, helped create, superstars in the sport. I mean, guys like Vaughn and Turk and Forsberg and Osbo. I mean, these guys, you talk motorsports and outside of just, drift fans or action motorsports fans. I mean, you talk about Vaughn Gittin Jr. and everybody knows who Vaughn Gittin is.
Yeah, I mean, Vaughn he is basically an example of how to build a program, and what to do with your brand. I mean, he's definitely set the bar really high for a lot of the guys. He gets it. He understands what needs to happen. And a lot of other guys are starting to follow suit. I mean, one of the things that I always think about and, people should keep in mind is that when we started this sport, it was basically starting it with drifters. There were very few professional drivers that kind of came into the sport. We had some Reese Millens and Stanley Hubenets and Tanner's to a certain extent, but Tanner wasn't really, full on celebrity at that point. He was just basically coming up, as a stunt driver, and kind of a rally driver a little bit. But these guys were essentially drifters, and they were learning how to build campaigns and how to market. And now you're seeing the Osbos and the Turks and the Forsbergs and a lot of these guys really kind of understand that there's a whole other component to building your brand as a business. Yes, you've got to go out there and be competitive. Yes, you've got to do all the things that are traditional to motorsports, but there's all these ancillary things that are required as well if you want to truly, truly make a business out of your involvement and investment in Formula D. So Vaughn's a great example of it. A lot of other guys are following suit, and for me, that's one of the things I'm super proud of is that there are a ton of people employed because of Formula Drift, and we're doing our little part to help the economy, I guess.
Yeah, and that's got to be gratifying because I look at a lot of motorsports and it's a hobby, but, Formula Drift, I mean, you've got guys that, their occupation is, a drifter, and I think, that's pretty remarkable. You've got, and it's more than just one or two guys. I mean, you have, a group of guys that are actually making a living at drifting, and I think that's really cool, and you kind of know you've made it as a series when you've got your drivers that can, sustain their lives on just your motorsport.
Yeah, totally. And, that obviously is, one of the ultimate goals is to be able to have the majority of your guys not doing it as weekend warriors, but finding a way to create a business. And some guys that are maybe not as good on the marketing side are realizing that where their place is in fabrication and vehicle development and consultancy and things like that. So the guys are starting to figure out what is the best direction for them to go to. They use their driving platform as a foundation, and then they can build their business around that. And so we're pretty happy to see a lot of guys doing it.
Yeah, well, in the series as a whole, I mean, as you guys have grown, I mean, you've got the manufacturers involved and putting together full-blown efforts. I mean, Ford for one, but you've got various other manufacturers. I mean, you guys have been very fortunate, to have some great partners within the series. It's tip of the cap to you guys because, you're surrounded by just such amazing brands.
There are definitely a lot of brands that have been with us since the beginning that kind of understand it. Ford obviously has been very progressive on the marketing front, and so have some other brands. We still feel like we're very, very early on in the infancy of having people kind of understand how dynamic the sport is. I mean, it really just takes people coming to an event and seeing how much people engage with their product. I mean, for example, like with GoPro, we still hold the record for most cameras sold at an event than any other event that they go to. And that shows that people that come to these events will engage with products. They'll engage with products that are part of the series. And, we want people to understand that if you're looking for motorsport millennials, if you're looking for, the demographic that we basically promote to, then Formula D is a good place to go. And there's not a lot of other motorsports out there that have this demographic and that have the amount of people that are participating. And it's something that, we continue to focus on and try to educate people on exactly what the sport is, because for some people, it's not their cup of tea. People are so used to motorsports having a very simple kind of understanding of point A to point B, whoever gets there faster wins. And we don't necessarily have that, and that can be confusing to a traditional motorsports fan. But those that it's not confusing to are these young kids that understand about kind of the subjective nature of certain types of action sports and how that applies to a sport like drifting, and those are the ones that have embraced it.
Yeah. Well, and talking about the future, obviously 2015, where, the debut of the World Championship, everybody's excited about that. Looking, a few years out, I mean, your vision, I mean, where do you see Formula Drift heading?
I think ultimately we have the foundation now, and it's about building upon that foundation. We definitely would like to be doing more events, probably domestically and internationally. We'd like to explore developing further all of our media products, like our live stream and our television show. And we took some big steps this year with signing with CBS Sports and kind of really building that program out over the next few years. Ultimately also focusing on helping drivers build their programs, getting additional OEs into the market, doing more on the reach out to some of these bigger non-endemic brands and showing them the value of the sport. That I think in general would kind of synopsize where we'd like it to go. I think, we have the ability to do, a few more events, and you kind of build the foundation around that and explore a lot of these other media opportunities and driver development opportunities. So where it's going to be in the 5 years, it would be kind of a souped up version of kind of what we're doing now.
Yeah. Well, and then in the short term, I mean, obviously, 2015, we just got done and just an amazing event at Long Beach. I mean, obviously you can't pick a favorite to win the championship or anything, but I mean, predictions for 2015, I mean, I'm thinking we're going to have it's going to be a down to the wire championship battle.
I always get the feeling that it's going to be a barn burner. I mean, just, to give, a little bit of history. Last year when we started the series, it was basically a Vaughn Gittin Jr. Chris Forsberg show for the first couple rounds. Then it became a Chris Forsberg show running away with the championship, never not being on the podium. And then Frederick Osbo in the last few events took some wins and really chipped away until we got to the point where, it was really going to come down to that final event. And it came down to the last run of Irwindale to determine who was going to win the championship. And so those kind of things seem very typical in the sport. I always say never be surprised in drifting. You'll always learn something new. And we even saw that this weekend in Long Beach, where we had these multiple one more times, both drivers making contact, both cars braking, competition timeouts. I mean, it was just insane. But I think in that vein, a lot of the same things will happen. Forsberg got knocked out a little bit early. It was just a mistake. He'll come back. He's one of the most mentally strong drivers out there, if not the most mentally strong. We've seen Vaughn kind of shift his attitude a little bit into having a lot more fun out there and not being so crazy on the competitive side. And I think that actually makes him more dangerous competitively. So expect him to do well. Oslo's got that mid-season form right now. He's got a lot of momentum. He's obviously the guy to beat. But you'll see Tanner back again. Matt Mike coming into the series in round two. You've obviously got guys like Yokoi. And then you've got a driver that just really, really excelled this past weekend, and that's Odie Botchis. So I think he's definitely one to look out for, and he is campaigning for the World Championship. So between those guys and guys like Ryan Turk, who started off strong, it's so hard to call early on, but I think you can see that those guys will be the leaders out front.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and here's the question, just kind of out of left field, but, obviously you guys have some staple venues that Formula Drift has always, gone to. I mean, places like Long Beach, obviously the House of Drift at Irwindale. The Wall has been there for quite some time. I mean, when you as, one of the guys behind everything, you're looking at venues to go to. Obviously we know what makes a good racetrack, but what makes a good drift venue? I mean, what are you guys looking for when you go and look at these new events to put on and venues to go to?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, a good drift venue is similar to a good baseball stadium or a good football stadium, and even a good basketball stadium, in the sense that every participant that comes to the event can see every ounce of action on track. I think that's one of the things that, some of the traditional racing programs have a hard time engaging the young fan with, is that, a lot of times you have to go, sit on a corner, find your favorite turn, and that's kind of what it is. But I don't know that the young motorsports enthusiasts can really want to get behind that. So what we look for in a track is that no matter where you're sitting, you can see the entire action from start to finish. So that's why a lot of these, oval tracks or bank tracks do really, really well. Or if it's a road racing facility or a pseudo road racing facility with a portion of grandstands that we can utilize, like in Long Beach, that tends to be a really, really good venue for us. There's a lot of people out there that are asking, what's going to happen with Irwindale at the end of the season, and we don't really know. But it'll be a great opportunity for us to find out what that next awesome Formula D venue is going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I got to tell you, I know, a great event in Long Beach. We're going to be doing this after each Formula Drift round. I know I'm excited about it. I think, it brings a little bit to the fans and kind of get to recap what happened. And I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to this year.
Well, Jim, we really appreciate it, and thanks for the opportunity. It's great to be able to speak to a new audience, and thanks for embracing the sport and all the support you've given us.
All right, for sure, and we'll touch base soon. But tip of the cap to you, Long Beach. If that's what's to come for the rest of 2015, I think everybody better hang tight because it's going to be a great year for Formula Drift.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time, Jim.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan.
All right, take care.
All right, that was Ryan Sage, Formula Drift co-founder Ryan Sage. I mean, it's been a long time coming having Ryan on air. It's been a long time coming. That's the easiest way to put it. This guy, he literally has helped, define, not only drifting, in the world, but action motorsports. I mean, Formula Drift, like he said, I mean, social media, their reach, only second to NASCAR. That's pretty huge. And I got to tell you, Formula Drift at Long Beach did not disappoint. Those of you that watched the live stream, I know I did. I was able to get bits and pieces. We were up there in Colorado, and a lot of the guys, that worked that event actually work Red Bull Global Rallycross and some others. I mean, we're all fans of Supercross. We were watching that in the evening at the TV of the bar. So I mean, we live action motorsports, right? So we were watching that. It was pretty cool. Every time somebody, knocks somebody out, and, we're talking about the Wang and Kaufman and Kaufman knocking out the number one seed. And, all of us were like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? It was pretty cool being up in Colorado and seeing what's happening in Long Beach live. But those of you, kind of tuning in and maybe missed Formula Drift, I'll give you a quick rundown. But your top four ended up being Osbo, Turk, Field, and Backus. And your winner ended up being Osbo. Osbo, obviously we talked to him over the winter, and he was definitely looking forward to this year. Signed his new deal with Rockstar Energy Drink. Kind of pseudo teammates with Tanner Faust now with Rockstar, and both kind of being associated with Papadakis. But Osbo, taking home the win, continuing on his winning ways from the end of last year. And I got to tell you, it's going to be a good year for Osbo. I think, you're going to see him and Forsberg, Vaughn, Turk. I mean, it's going to be a shootout this year. And obviously, Backus, we can't forget about him. I mean, taking home a second, huge right out of the box, great way to start out the year. Then Ryan Turk, obviously he's got that new car, struggled the past couple of seasons, it seemed like, but, back to the Ryan Turk of old. I think we'll definitely have to reach out to Ryan for an interview sometime soon. A good friend of mine. I had the opportunity to go on a ride along with him at SEMA, and always fun, but Ryan Turk taking a podium, I mean, that's big for Turk. So big congrats goes out to him. Some notables though, Forsberg being knocked out in the second round, absolutely not typical of Forsberg, and then Tanner Faust, obviously, tough draw there against JTP, Justin Pollock. Pollock getting the best of Faust in round one. And then Backus ended up knocking Pollock out. Von Gittin Jr., he won a few rounds, got knocked out by Backus, but all in all, it was Osbo's weekend. So, your points leader heading into round number 2 is Frederick Osbo. And I got to tell you, he is going to be a tough one to catch. You give him a little room out front, as we saw with Forsberg last year. And, they got a chance to run away with things. So I got to tell you, though, going into round number 2, it's I am so looking forward to Formula Drift this year. May 8th and 9th, move on to Georgia, Road Atlanta, and that's always a fun one, And I think, what was it, last year before, they actually ran the event, had some rain. It was pretty slick, so never know what can happen. But, that was your Formula Drift post-race or post-event interview, and stoked to have Ryan Sage finally on air. We're going to be doing that after each and every Formula Drift round this season, so always good times. So definitely look forward to that if you're a Drift fan, and if you're not a Drift fan, we're going to make you a Drift fan by the end of 2015, guaranteed. So it's whoa. Something tinging and going off here, but we're gonna take a short commercial break, and when we come back, it's going to be Marty Fiolka talking the Norra Mexican 1000 here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show. So stay tuned.
Hey, I'm RJ Anderson, factory Polaris driver, and I drive Polaris because it's the most capable, race-ready off-road vehicle on the market.
When RJ Anderson wanted to set a world record for the longest UTV jump in history, not once but twice, what company did he trust? Polaris and their championship-winning Razor XP 1000. RJ is a UTV champion behind the wheel of Polaris vehicles, and he exclusively trusts the Polaris Razors to bring him race wins and championships against some of the toughest off-road racers in the world. The same Polaris Razors RJ has won championships in, set world records in, and conquered the Wall of Death in XP1K2 are available to you at your local Polaris dealer. Take the advice of world record holder RJ Anderson and visit Polaris on the web at Polaris.com to see the full lineup of Polaris Razor vehicles, or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris Razor. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. Baja, check. King of the Hammers, check. Crandon, check. The Mint 400, check. Only one wheel company can say they have dominated the deserts and rocks of the Southwest to the mud and carnage of the big house at Crandon, and that company is KMC Wheels. KMC Wheels has won them all with the help of elite drivers like Travis Pastrana, Ricky Johnson, Bryce Menzies, Carl Renazetter, and Lauren Healy, who all rely on the XD Series from KMC Wheels to get them to the finish line and on top of the podium. Check out KMC Wheels and their full line of XD Series wheels at KMCWheels.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at KMC Wheels. KMC Wheels, like no other.
Rigid Industries is the original and #1 LED light bar manufacturer in the world. Torture tested by some of the best drivers in motorsports. Rigid LED lighting products use cutting-edge technology and can stand up to the harshest conditions Mother Nature can dish out. Designed, engineered, and assembled in the United States, Rigid LED lighting is the only choice for your off-road vehicle or boat. Find out more information on the entire line of Rigid Industries LED lighting products at www.rigidindustries.com.
Are you looking for a place to push yourself behind the wheel and see how your driving skills stack up? Dirtfish Rally School is that place. Located on 315 acres of pristine automotive playground at the foot of the Cascade Mountains in Snoqualmie, Washington, right outside of Seattle, Dirtfish Rally School is a one-of-a-kind place where everyone from first-time drivers to seasoned professionals like Bucky Lassick and Antoine Lestage can push themselves to their limit. Whether driving the high-performance, rally-prepped all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza STI is what you're looking for, or you'd rather hang it all out in the rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZs, Dirtfish Rally School has something for everyone. Classes are available from 2 hours to 3 full days and feature instructors with over 150 years of combined racing experience. Whether you're looking to become the best and get an edge on the competition, or just looking to freshen your skills behind the wheel, Dirtfish Rally School is the place to go. For more information on registering for classes, visit Dirtfish on the web at dirtfish.com, or to check out the latest happenings from Dirtfish, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dirtfish Rally.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'm your host, Jim Beaver, and just got done with Ryan Sage on air. And great catching up with Ryan, man. Been a long time coming, and stoked to have him on the air today. And before we went to that break, I apologize. We're running some new software here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show behind the scenes, and that dinging coming through was an alert from this new software. So hopefully we got that completely fixed at this point, and you won't hear it again. But we got actually a brand new studio here, running all new computers, all new mixing boards, and everything else. So if there's a little bit of weirdness with the sound and stuff, we'll have it ironed out by the end of today. But literally an all new studio here, investing in some equipment, and should be pretty cool going forward. But Ryan Sage, great catching up with him. Rolls us right into our next guest, Mr. Marty Fiolka, who's going to be calling in just a few seconds. We're going to be talking the Norra Mexican 1000 coming up in a couple of weeks. And I got to tell you, man, this Norra race has been growing and growing and growing, and each and every year it's getting bigger and better, and and always it's always got I don't know, every year about this time it's just announcement after announcement after announcement with this Norra Mexican 1000. Started out as just a vintage fun run. It's becoming an entirely different animal. I mean, obviously the vintage racing a big part of it, but hardcore desert racers are wanting to bring their trophy trucks and their unlimited vehicles down there with the stage format they do, kind of Dakar style, running down the Mexican peninsula, so it's all the fun of the Baja 1000 but spread out over a few days into a rally type format, and it's really taken hold here, in the off-road community, and looking forward to catching up with Marty here in just a few minutes. And then, as I was up hosting the Ultimate Snowmobiler Winter Terracross over the weekend, so we're going to get to that later on in the show. And then other guests, I mean, we've got a stacked deck today. We got Amber Balcaen calling in. She's going to be on air with Ami Houde, an Ami Houde segment to end in the show. We've also got Ashley with SoCal Off-Road Trucks. They got a big event going on this weekend. So we're going to catch up with Ashley and talk about that big event. And then Dirtfish Rally Report, Global Rallycross, some absolute huge news coming out of some of the teams over the weekend. Olsberg's making a big announcement coming out of Dave Mira's camp. So we're going to get to all that later on in the show. I got to tell you, it's going to be a big show, and that's what I love doing. Getting all these various personalities from different walks of life. We're going to go from drifting to vintage off-road racing Supercross to dirt tracking to pre-runner trucks and razors and snowmobiles, and we're throwing it all into one radio show, and that's what I love doing. We're just a mashup of all kinds of stuff. But it's been great. It's been a fun ride here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, and you never know who we're going to interview and and what's going to happen. And I got to tell you, it's all about you fans though that tune in, and I always appreciate it, and and the great partners that we have as well. But and when we get to talk about some Winter Terracross, I got to tell you, I had a fun time, an absolute a blast up there in Crested Butte, Colorado. I actually got a chance to race in the Winter Terracross event, last-minute deal, and I'm going to bring you the story about that here in just a little bit. But right now, it looks like we got Marty Fiolka calling in. How's everything going, Marty?
Good morning. How are you?
Everything's going good, buddy. I'm back in Arizona. I was hosting an event up in Crested Butte, Colorado over the weekend, and I got to tell you, I'm liking the weather here in Parker better than I did in Colorado.
Yeah, the weather's been actually very beautiful here in California too, and looking good down in Baja as well.
Yeah, and talking about Baja, we're getting close to the Norra Mexican 1000. I got to tell you about that. I was just kind of giving a lead into this, but it seems like every year about this time, you guys have just been rolling out the announcements, the past month and a half, and it gets me excited to see the growth of this event.
Yeah, it's funny about that. No matter how long you work, we worked on this event kind of all year. Certainly, starting back in September, just before Sand Sports and Off-Road Expo rolling into SEMA. But it seems no matter what you do, the announcements always kind of come towards the end, and we still have some more to make. The event is.
You there, Marty? You're breaking up a bit, buddy. Try and call back in. You were breaking up a bit, and then we lost you.
Okay, I'll call.
All right, we'll see if we can get Marty to ring back in here. And, I was breaking up a bit, but par for the course sometimes with radio. You never know what you're going to get. But, we'll get back into some Norra talk here in just a second as Marty calls back in. And there we go. There is Marty. How's everything going, buddy?
Okay, is that better?
Oh, crystal clear now. We're golden, buddy.
Okay, great. But yeah, the event itself is it's going through some growing stages now in terms of what it is and what it isn't. But in terms of people getting excited about doing the rally here in a couple of weeks, I think that's always pretty crystal clear. And Norra works hard on trying to make things bigger, better, the hospitality bigger and better, the courses, all the stuff they work on. And there's a lot of changes that are going to be good for this year in terms of just all of that. The whole atmosphere is going to be great this year.
Yeah, and I think one of the big announcements, obviously we're gonna talk about the vintage side in a minute, but Robbie Gordon making a big announcement, big huge purse for this new unlimited series. I mean, what's your take on this? I mean, obviously, anytime Robbie's involved with anything, he brings an added level of media attention. What's your take on this? I mean, obviously, it's a big deal having Robbie and all these unlimited cars going down there. I mean, how is the vintage community? Have they been abrasive to it? How is kind of give us a lowdown here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a different scenario. Well, first of all, I've known Robbie since he was a teenager with his father, Bob, and I was one of the guys who actually sponsored him very early. And he's always brought a whole bunch of attention to anything he does, certainly a level of excitement. Great racer, we all know that. And, working hard to become a great promoter now. He always kind of wanted to follow on the likes of Mickey Thompson, I think, was one of his idols. And, he's doing that. In this case, he approached Norra about bringing some trucks down and kind of putting up a purse and putting on a race for the trophy truck guys, and he basically kind of tacked his event onto ours as it is. Norra's providing the course, all that, but Robbie's basically putting up the purse and getting the guys lined up. I think that again, we talked about some of the growing pains as to what this event is and what it isn't, and I think the vintage guys realize that in order for this thing to continue, we have to get more entries. The issue is, you can imagine, that the bikes, it's 5 days of rallying down there. The cars are 4, it covers 1,300 miles. So just in terms of cost, with we're talking about a radio plane as a relay. You've got helicopter support now, and all that goes into it. It's an expensive event to do. It definitely is, and for the promotion side of things. And I think that the growth, hopefully someday, we'll have 200 vintage entries. I mean, vintage is still where the heart and soul of the rally lies in terms of, I think, why it's popular, what makes it so cool. I mean, certainly vintage cars are cool. There's no question about it. But, I'm also looking forward to seeing the Gordini run, too. Hey, and on one hand, too, Jimmy, it's smart. Here you've got Robbie trying to dial in his Dakar car, and here's a 4-day rally that kind of fits into that format for him. So it works. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes down.
Yeah, well, and we got to mention, I mean, it's not that unlimited cars have never run down there. I mean, the Evolution class has been down there for a couple of years now, and and unlimited cars have been embraced. I mean, it's just Robbie basically stepping up the game here and saying, hey, I'm going to throw a bunch of money at this. Let's make this a battle.
Yeah, he's ran down there before with one of his Dakar cars. They've run, the El Matador guys and the Jimco Dakar car have run there before. Mark Post has run his quote-unquote vintage truck, which is essentially still as fast as any trophy truck out there. They run. I think that intentionally, though, Norra kind of downplays the whole winning and losing thing because it's supposed to be much more of an event about everybody and everybody having a good time. I mean, that's the focus. The happiest race on earth is there as a motto for a reason, because that's what Norra focuses on. How do we make people have a great time for 4 days in Baja? And how do we enhance that? And because that's really, if you think about it, and there's so many other races people can go to now, the one, competitive advantage or like mindset that Norra brings to the table is, let's really enhance the experience for everybody, let them all have a great time. And, which kind of opens it up for everybody to kind of come down and do it in a vintage car or Jeep, Speed, or whatever they want to do. I think over the years you're going to see Norra working harder on trying to, bring back, there's 100 or 100 more Class 11 cars in Mexico. How do we get a race for those guys? How do we do that? How do we bring older 1600 cars or Class 7 trucks or, a rally cars? And it's kind of intended to be that for everybody. So I think that's where you're going to see the future kind of come into play here with Jimmy is how Norra, Mike Coleman, and those guys are going to kind of see their future. Is how I see it. But the heart and core of it all, we still have some insanely great vintage cars that are coming, some great restorations that have been worked on now for a couple of years. And I think everybody's looking forward to seeing those as much as the trophy trucks, frankly.
Yeah, and I kind of tend to agree with you, you go to any race and you see trophy trucks, and and they're a dime a dozen these days. I hate to say that, but they are. They're all over the place. But some of these vintage cars, I mean, to me, they're the jaw droppers. It's not the trophy trucks anymore. We've all seen those, but seeing some of these vehicles being brought back to life that you may have saw in a magazine ad in the 70s or the 80s, to me, that's what's amazing. I see these cars and it's like, and some of them, the technology for what they were back in the day, that's jaw dropping to me.
Yeah, they are. And there's a lot more out there and a lot more being discovered, on Earth. But, it takes a while. It takes, most guys, 1 or 2 or 3 years to restore a car, unless you're, Rory Ward, who seems to turn out one every year. And he has a new car, that new Dirt Tricks car that he's running this year, which really looks great. I mean, unlimited open cars for me are always been the most fascinating thing. That car is unbelievable. The other gentleman who's from, I don't believe it's from Texas, he has a brand new restoration Funko that matches the Bell Ray Bullet. He's worked on that for 2 years. That's coming down. They're going to run that as a 2-car team. The guy who found Larry Ragland's old Porsche-powered Woodstuff single-seater, the Chaparral, that's done. Larry's actually going to drive that car this year, which is going to be super exciting. I saw that car at the Mint, and it just sounds great. It's Porsche 911 motors sound great. So, I mean, yeah, trophy trucks are awesome. I think some of the vintage stuff is cool if you're into that thing. And what's really cool to me, though, is even the two, cars that we always kind of look at and really enjoy, which are the 57 Chevy that Rick Johnson has, and the Nova, which Rick Johnson and Jim Riley have. Those cars are racing against my friend J.T. Taylor's Volkswagen Bugs. You have these great sedans that are racing. And then the biggest class we have of all this year looks like it's going to be our Bronco class, which are going to be like Rod Hall's going to take on the Lovell brothers and Boyd James's car. And those cars are really kind of come out. I think there's a dozen of those. So that's going to be an interesting class to watch too. So like I said, it's growing in particular areas, and all that stuff is just really neat to see.
Yeah, well, and talking about, Rod Hall and some of these others, I guess we can't forget about the Mint 400 because, Mint 400, it's an iconic race, and bringing the vintage cars into the Mint 400 this year, I mean, that was a pretty big deal the Martellis did.
Yeah, I don't think it was Martellis as much as it was Casey folks.
Yeah.
But it was, look, I have mixed emotions about that. Certainly having a historic element in the Mint 400 is important. I'm all about it. Don't know necessarily if that category fits into, when you have, 10 guys or 20 or 30 people who got modern cars who can't get into the Mint 400 because they have a cap on entry. I don't know if really having historic cars actually in the race is the right thing to do. But, I mean, it was a neat thing to see for sure. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to kind of keep everybody's focus, and you try to make one thing great, and every time you kind of dilute it down with something, it can tend to take away too. So, I mean, as the Norra Mexican 1000 kind of struggles a little bit to keep going, which it's fine. It just needs to grow a little more, I think, in order to make it a little more financially viable. I mean, it's very difficult on Mike Perlman and the guys to kind of keep everything going the way we want to and keep it growing. And, whether it's internet coverage or tracking or safety or whatever else has to go into the event hospitality, certainly, it's difficult. But I think that the nice part is this is our 6th anniversary this year of running the Mexican 1000, and we still have all our sponsors on board who started with us. General Tire, Casey Highlights, American Racing Wheel, Azunia, South Point, even Walker Evans Racing. That's a neat thing too. Walker Evans, our Grand Marshal this year, he's down there running again. He retired his truck now, but he's running a big Lumacraft V8 and he's having a time of his life. Driving buggies. Who would have thought?
Yeah, right. Well, I think that speaks volumes, though, and in talking about some of the companies. I mean, most of them that are involved have a rich history in desert racing one way or another, and some have gone and come back. In the case of General Tire, others, like American Racing, have always had a presence. But I think it speaks volumes that you guys have been able to retain these sponsors for the entire time it's run. And then obviously Jim Riley. I mean, he's so involved in the desert racing community with his Azunia brand. But I think that's it's great that a vintage race can be marketable, like you guys, and you guys have done a great job of lending itself to that.
Yeah, we work hard. I mean, obviously there's a clear link to some of these heritage brands. Casey Highlights has been around. One of the most felt things that we always enjoy is working with the Bill Stein, because they were around in the very beginning. They kind of went away a little bit from the racing stuff and decided to get involved with Norra. The Mexican 1000, I think that's awesome. General Tire celebrating its 100th anniversary this year down there, so that'll be great. I mean, even Mastercraft and Impact are part of our program, but that's the part that's really nice is keeping corporate support, letting it grow. Try not to overrun it with too much, contingency programs or things that are, it's a much different kind of approach to how to put a race on. And we think it's working pretty well, and our corporate companies seem to be happy. But like I said, there's a lot of pride in seeing, all the races show up in Ensenada here in 2 weeks. And, that Saturday, actually the weekend kicks off now at Horsepower Ranch on Friday night. We'll have a display of all the vintage cars, the ones that are all restored. And we have a few things going on. Darren Skilton was also putting on his Cortez Rally. That ends at Horsepower Ranch next Friday night. Early Tech will be there. And if you've been down there, that place is perfect kickoff for a Norra race week. So We're excited about getting involved with those guys too. They're going to open the doors to the ranch, which they never do. And it's, there's no covered charge. Just come and enjoy the ranch and see the cars and the bikes and the Cortez Rally and everything else. So that's going to be another addition to it. But like I said, we're really proud of the event, and we worked hard to kind of shape it into something that's solid. And everybody goes through growing pains. It's always an issue. I think when you're trying to, and I think Mike Perlman works really hard, and Jennifer Coleman and LSA and everybody works hard to try to please everybody. It's very difficult to do. Can't really do it. And they always listen. We always try to make adjustments to what it is that we're providing in terms of the course, or in terms of the rules, or in terms of hospitality, or whatever we can do. And it's a really difficult balancing act to follow. And it's just like having the Robbie Gordon trucks there this year. It's a new addition. some people didn't like it at first, but they started to understand that, we need to make sure that the event will live and continue to be able to be financially viable for the next, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, we know there's guys restoring cars out there now that are planning to be there in 2 years from now. So, you think about that and the investment that our clients and our customers make in terms of like those cars or whatever else. I mean, we really owe it to the sport and to everybody to make sure that the event will be around. And I think that's been the biggest challenge so far.
Yeah. Well, in talking about, Norra and obviously, you can only have one Norra 1000 a year, but I know, a long time it's been talked about doing a second event, maybe, half the distance and a loop around maybe northern Baja. What's the future of the Norra organization? Do you think, all is good with one event a year, or do you see a second, possibly a second vintage event, yearly on the calendar?
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried that. Norra tried that a couple of years ago with the 500, and I think that for the Mexican 500, my feeling then and now is that, the Mexican 1000 package, if you look at it as a racer like I do, is, hey, it's a perfect week. I can go down there on Friday night. I can race my heart out for 1,300 miles till Wednesday. Then I can fly my wife to Cabo. We go to the biggest party in off-road racing happens down in Cabo San Lucas with Norra. Last year we had about 1,200 people there on the beach, fireworks, everything else. And then I can enjoy, the second half of my week in Cabo and have a great time. And that package really works. I think that, if it's not kind of structured like that for a longer race like this, it won't. But to answer your question, do I think there's room for another one? Yeah, I do. Maybe in the fall, maybe vintage only. I don't know. I know that some guys, we thought for a long time that, hey, our customer base is happy just bringing their cars out once a year. Finding that maybe that's not the case. Now, maybe we like to run a couple times, but it needs to be that same kind of vibe of, having a good time, going over some great roads, stopping a couple overnights, definitely not as long mileage-wise, maybe it's over a long weekend, but, it needs to end in a great place. I mean, that's kind of the formula that's worked, and I think that'll work again. But I'm not sure. I think that we're getting through this event, and then I think Norra's going to kind of sit down and see where it kind of wants to go. Let's face it, Jimmy, it's a very difficult market. You've got Best of Desert putting on great races, Forest putting on races. You've got Snore. You've got more. You still have all these sanctioning bodies still vying for customers. And the good thing is, with at least what we do, is that customer base is a bit different. And I think that's actually a good thing. The best part of the sport to me is seeing guys who never would have come out and tried racing, off-road racing or racing in Baja, finding an old car and coming down and actually participating. I've got a gentleman from Florida who's a big-time Porsche road racer who he and his partner brought a 911 down a couple of years ago. That didn't work, so they actually bought a Class 9 car from California, shipped it to Florida, prepped it, and are bringing it back to this race. They would never have done that before. Never. They said if it wasn't for this particular event and how it's structured, we would never have done this. So when you hear stories like that, it makes it kind of really satisfying that, what Norra does and does well, and it will continue to do well is just that, and just make it a platform for everybody to participate in a really user-friendly manner. I mean, again, it's the lack of pre-running, it's the lack of, you don't need race fuel, you don't need chase crews, I mean, one chase truck can do it. And that actually changes everything and makes it possible to go down and see it. Obviously seeing everything in Baja in the daytime is great. The towns we stop in, I mean, man, does it get better than Bay of Vallejo and Loreto and Cabo? I mean, awesome. So those things are really part of a whole plan. You need to come down to your dad sometime and see what I'm talking about. We haven't done that yet, but the whole formula for that event works, and it's just a matter of how do you replicate that for something else? That's the question.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think anybody that's ever gone down there, they're sold on, and it's like it's literally marked for the next 5 years on their calendar, that date, and they're like, I'm going to the Norra 1000. I think it's become that type of event. I think just like you said, it's a different customer base, and I think and that's why the events have grown. I think the big mistake would be trying to get involved in competition with the Score or Best in the Desert or one of these various other sanctioning bodies. And I applaud Norra for what they've done, and they've stuck to their business model, and and they've ventured outside of it a bit, but by and large, it still is a vintage race.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked. Yeah, it is a bit. By and large, it is still our biggest entries come from that category. You know, we need to work a little harder on the motorcycle side, frankly, because, I mean, look, we offer a whole separate course the first 3 days just for the bikes. I mean, just for safety's sake alone. So there's a lot to be done there. But I think overall, I think what you've got here is something that I think is very special in the hearts of many people, many of our racers. This is the race they look forward to the most every year. And I think that part of it is something that, you know, you just can't replicate any other way. And, you know, I think from the very beginning, I remember when we first brought this idea up, and I actually remember getting a phone call from Sal Fish at the time when he ran Score, and was kind of angry about what was going on. And then he kind of realized that, you know, we're in no way, shape, or form trying to compete with any of the Score races down there. And he finally understood that, and he actually learned to appreciate and actually really respect kind of the way we went about doing things. And I think that as long as that's the case, I think that's kind of good and fair. And, you know, let's face it, you know, the world right now that we live in, at least in terms of motorsports and especially in off-road, is all about events. And, you know, it's who can put on the best event. So there's no surprise when, you know, the Martelli brothers, you know, bring so much to the Mid-400 that's a big, big event. It wasn't that way 3 or 4 years ago. It was just another race. Now it's a big event.
Yeah.
You know, Dave Cole, King of the Hammer, same thing, big event. And, you know, Norra works hard to put on a big event. Now, what can go behind it? Who knows? But you know, as long as everybody focuses on what they're doing, it's fine. I think when people start worrying about what everybody else is doing, that things start kind of falling apart a bit. And I think that, you know, but the key is in the future, I think it's going to be who's got the best races, who's got the best events. That's where we want to go. And I think that for now, I think Norra has one of those in a very special, unique way. You know, it's not the Mid-400. It's not as competitive. It's not, I mean, yes, do people compete down there and race? Sure they do. But it's still a different vibe at the end of the day. You know, that's still, I think, what makes it so special.
Yeah. Well, and you know, before we let you go, I do want to ask you one thing, because I haven't seen a copy yet, and I'm anxious to see it. But I know you know, this is a side project you've been working on, but you've been working with the McMillan family, who you know, anybody that's been involved in off-road knows the McMillans. I mean, you know, just generations, and you know, and always front runners. And I got to tell you, from a personal standpoint, I love seeing the vintage paint schemes of the Mid-400 on their trophy trucks. But how is the book? I know it's completely finished now, and it's kind of the history of the McMillan family, right?
Yeah, the book's completely finished. It's being printed right now. It's going to be probably back over here in probably, I think, 2 months. A little bit less. I think they're trying to get some copies down for the Baja 500. But no, yeah, I've had the good fortune and honor of working with a lot with Mark McMillan. It was his kind of idea to put this together. He called me 2.5 years ago and asked me, you know, who could write a book just like you did? And I said, well, I could do it. And I opened my big mouth, but no, you know, it was a big labor of love for him. I mean, it's impossible to think about, you know, the McMillans and not think about winning and this excellence. And, you know, what's amazing to me is that Mark kept everything from every race, and they've done, we counted over 304 races they've done with multiple vehicles. And you think about the effort and the logistics and just the resources and everything they've done for 37 years. You know, the book turned out to be 536 pages. It weighs 10 pounds. But that was even condensed from what we had started with. You know, I mean, the 1,000 Miles of Glory book, there was only about 32 Baja 1000 to 33. This was 300, 10 times that. So we condensed it down. It was never really intended, Jimmy, to be sold to the public. It was really something kind of from McMillans and their crew people, you know, that had 330 crew people or something over the years.
Yeah.
So plus their sponsors. So we were, hey, let's do this thing. We'll put it together. But, you know, it evolved, of course. We had great photography from Boyd James, great photography from trackside historic stuff. But, yeah, there's over 1,000 pictures in this book. A lot of them personal photography from McMillans, a lot of personal letters and maps and, you know, as much as we could put in it. And, it was a true labor of love. You know, we chronicled every race and what broke and what where they finished up and who was entered and who the co-drivers were. And then there's even a section about the 41 race cars they'd had and when they bought them and when they, you know, what. It's just an amazing history. And like I said, Mark McMillan and Karen Sanchez, his assistant, I mean, they had everything separated, which didn't make it any easier because there was like so much information, So, I probably they had every copy of SC Times, every Dirt Sports, every patch, every dash black, every map, every BF Cup. They had everything from every race.
Wow.
So you can imagine what that looked like in Mark's, shop in his office. I mean, it takes up, a couple rooms of space. But at the end of the day, it was about 2.5 years of work. A lot more work than he thought, but at the end of the day, Mark was really proud of it. And yeah, I've seen the retro paint schemes of the Mint was awesome. I think even Dan had to cover the book on his hood. I didn't have it see that, but I think he did. So it'll be out there. It'll be available through the McMillans and McMillan Racing, starting in June. And we know some people are going to want it. And like I said, it's just a cool history to see the evolution of sport through one team. Now that's a very special team. I don't think anybody else can even touch the amount of entries and effort and vehicles that they've had. And they don't stand alone in that. And in that regard, you can compare them to Penske or Hendrick or anybody else. That's what the level they're at, and I think that they still remain that way today.
Yeah, I completely agree, and you talk about families that have shaped the history of desert racing, and obviously the Gordons, the McMillans. I mean, you talk about the Halls, but they definitely in select company there. And I as we speak, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to email Mark, say, hey, what's it take for me to get a copy of this, buddy?
Yeah, he's really proud of it. Currently, I haven't seen it, but he's been carrying we printed 20 copies for Christmas this year, just draft copies that were done digitally. And, he basically handed those out to his family members and some special people with red pens to mark them up and make corrections. I'm glad we did that because we spent, about 3 weeks doing just corrections in the book and making sure there was accurate information in there and updating photographs and doing the best we could to get some beautiful photography in there. Now the book will be offset print like it's supposed to be, literally like a coffee table art book is what this is going to look like. And I can't wait to see the finished results. I'm really excited for people like you and everybody else to see it finally.
Yeah, me too. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call in, Marty. I know, obviously Norra 1000 coming up. It's the big one, and we'll definitely have full coverage of it on the show, and we'll have to get you back on air after the event.
We'll come on after the event and touch base and let you know what went on. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and thanks for the opportunity, Jim. I always appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, Marty. Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that was Marty Fiolka with the Norra Mexican 1000, among many other things. One of those guys behind the scenes in off-road desert racing and short course that definitely helps push things. And a good friend of mine, and always fun to catch up with him. We are going to take a short break, and we're a few minutes over time, but we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have Ashley with SoCal Off-Road Trucks talking about their event. We're going to have some UTV news from Polaris Razor, talking some Winter Terracross, some Ultimate Snowmobiler, and a stacked Dirtfish Rally Report. And then to close out the show, we got Ami Houde. She's on air with her segment, and Amber Balcaen is going to be calling in with Amy. We're going to talk a little bit about dirt racing. So stay tuned to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, lit up by Rigid Industries, schooled by Dirtfish Rally School, anywhere as possible with General Tire, and also KMC Wheels, MTX Audio, and Gibson Performance Exhaust. And we'll be back in just a second.
I'm Polaris rider Levi LaValle, and I choose Polaris just because they have the best quality, highest performing, most fun machines out there.
Only one company has taken Levi LaValle to 10 X Games medals, Snowcross championships, a double backflip, and a world record long jump of 412 feet across the San Diego Harbor on New Year's Eve, and that company is Polaris. Whether it's dominating the X Games, racing a stock Polaris Razor XP1000 in the Terracross Championship, or just hitting the trail on the weekend, for over 20 years, Levi has relied on the same quality Polaris vehicles and products you can purchase at your local Polaris dealer. Take the advice of action sports legend Levi LaValle and visit Polaris on the web at Polaris.com to see the full lineup of Polaris vehicles, or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris Razor. For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Come to the island and rip it up this summer. Wakeboard Island. It's a skate park on water at Blue Water Resort and Casino. Check out the 2-tower cable system that pulls you and your board over the water. No boats to watch out for, no fumes. Wakeboard Island is open to all skill levels with an open center section for beginners and for trick riders, a double side kicker in a 60-foot flat box. Wakeboard Island, the best ride this side of the Rockies. Adjacent to the River's Edge Cantina at Blue Water Resort and Casino on the Colorado River in Parker, Arizona.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Looking to upgrade the brake system on your race car, pre-runner, or weekend toy? J-Mar Performance Brake Systems has you covered. An industry leader in performance braking systems, J-Mar can outfit your vehicle with the highest quality American-made calipers, rotors, master cylinders, hubs, turning brakes, and shifters for Volkswagens to trophy trucks and everything in between. For more information and their full product line, visit J-Mar on the web at jmarperformance.com or follow them on Instagram and Twitter at J-Mar Brakes. Are you looking for a place to push yourself behind the wheel and see how your driving skills stack up? Dirtfish Rally School is that place. Located on 315 acres of pristine automotive playground at the foot of the Cascade Mountains in Snoqualmie, Washington, right outside of Seattle, Dirtfish Rally School is a one-of-a-kind place where everyone from first-time drivers to seasoned professionals like Bucky Lassick and Antoine Lestage can push themselves to their limit. Whether driving the high-performance, rally-prepped all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza STI is what you're looking for, or you'd rather hang it all out in the rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZ, Dirtfish Rally School has something for everyone. Classes are available from 2 hours to 3 full days and feature instructors with over 150 years of combined racing experience. Whether you're looking to become the best and get an edge on the competition, or just looking to freshen your skills behind the wheel, Dirtfish Rally School is the place to go. For more information on registering for classes, visit Dirtfish on the web at dirtfish.com, or to check out the latest happenings from Dirtfish, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dirtfish Rally. Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'm your host, Jim Beaver, rocking and rolling through hour number one. We had Ryan Sage from Formula Drift and Marty Fiolka from the Norra Mexican 1000 on air, talking a little bit of drifting, a little bit of vintage racing. On tap, hour number two, we got a Dirtfish Rally report. We're going to be talking some Polaris RZR UTV news and some Winter Terracross, some Ultimate Snowmobiler. Also, Ami Houde, Amber Balcaen calling in. We got some Supercross on tap. But before we get to that, I'd like to welcome my next guest to the air, Ashley from SoCal Off-Road Trucks. All right, and our next caller, it sounds like we've got Ashley Kircher calling in from the SoCal Off-Road Trucks. They got a big fundraiser coming up this weekend. How's everything going, Ashley?
Good. How about you?
I am doing well, but I got to say, I've been following this fundraiser. You and I have been talking for quite a few months now, and I know it's a big thing. It's the third annual fundraiser for you guys. Looks like you guys got a heck of a lot of sponsors involved in this.
Yeah, definitely. Year after year, we get continued sponsors that love our event and love what we do, and it's awesome to have support like that in the off-road community.
Yeah, for sure. So, kind of give us a little background. There's a lot of people. I mean, the off-road culture in the Southwest is huge. I mean, we've got short course, we've got desert racing, we've got various different organizations. But tell us a little bit about SoCal Off-Road Trucks, because I know you are kind of the spearhead behind the whole organization.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it started off being a Tuesday night kind of truck meet, hang out at a parking lot. We all used to eat dinner together. And then we decided that we wanted to kind of hit the dirt and hang out in the desert. So I reached out to Flash X, and they've allowed us to use their parking lot year after year. And we kind of head out there and show kind of what the trucks are for versus just doing it in a parking lot. So that's the background behind it. It started, just like I said, a Tuesday night thing, and we've really blown it up since then.
Yeah, for sure. And talk about growth, because I know, you do this fundraiser, and every year, you've got a different cause that you donate for. I know Fast Aid's been one of them. This year, it's Wishes for Warriors. Kind of talk about how it's grown and how much money's involved, because I know last year it was a couple $1,000s you guys donated to Fast Aid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our first year started as a children's charity, so to say. We donated around $1,500. Last year we did it for Fast Aid, and we donated right around $3,000. And 100% of our raffle proceeds goes directly to the organization that we select. So we don't take a penny from it. I actually do this all on my own after my regular job. So I'm really involved in the off-road community. I love what it's all about. Everyone's so close, and we've really grown. The first year, I want to say we had maybe 10 sponsors. Last year, we had over 30 sponsors, and over 300 people show up. So we're hoping to double, if not triple that this year as well, and to have the support from Flash X to allow us to do that and have a big enough space to do it is awesome.
Yeah, and anybody familiar with the off-road community and in the Southwest, I mean, they know exactly where Slash X is outside of Barstow. I mean, it's, some of those places, people drive by it all day long, and probably don't think anything of it. But if you're from the off-road, I mean, Slash X, this little, restaurant/bar out in the middle of nowhere is, like, iconic.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, take us through the weekend, because I know it's, you've got a few events. I mean, obviously there's a fundraiser involved, but, it's a multi-day event. Kind of take us through, people that want to come out. I mean, what's going on out there?
Yeah, Friday night we hang out, camp, set up camp, get to know people, meet everyone. This year we do have something special going on Saturday. We've got Dirt Alliance coming out to film for their new video that they've got. There's going to be quite a few really nice trucks out there that are going to be doing some filming and testing, what we would consider Barstow Main off Outlet Center Drive. And then Sunday we go to Slash X right around 9 o'clock in the morning, set up. We have a raffle that happens at 3 o'clock. We raffle everything off, and then it takes me about a week or so to get that donation to them, and we love the support that they give us, which is going to be nice to have them out there as well. They're going to talk about what they do, and we would love to have anybody that's a combat veteran show up to the event and get the support that they deserve, and that's what it's all about. We want them to really feel appreciated, and they allow us to do what we love to do, so why not give back to them?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. I think it's definitely a good cause you guys are getting involved in, and I know you guys have openings for for booths for vendors that want to come up and set up and sell their swag or whatever they've got. And is this open to to the public? Anybody with a pre-runner truck or an off-road truck that wants to come out and participate?
Absolutely, yeah. We have people that bring out their razors, that bring out quads and dirt bikes. It's not so much just trucks. It's definitely geared towards that, but everybody's welcome. We have some really nice race vehicles that have come out before, and we have some pretty there's a lot of money that goes into this, and a lot of thought and a lot of time, and we would love to have everybody come out, and that's what it's all about, is bringing everyone closer together and getting people involved in this. And like I said, the off-road community is such a family, so it's nice to have everyone together.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit more about, your organization and the SoCal Off-Road Trucks, because obviously, you said you guys meet, and obviously you can't get out every weekend to the dirt, but, it became a thing. Hey, let's go out and, and as a group and go and have fun and play in the dirt. But, talk about your organization. I mean, how many people, on a regular weeknight when you have your meetups, I mean, how many people are you guys pulling?
Yeah, we meet every other Tuesday, and we actually, the very first time we had our very first truck meet, we didn't expect to have a big turnout, but we had over 150 trucks in a small Rally's parking lot. So we didn't realize how big it was going to be, and we've done this now, I want to say, the past almost 4 years. our Tuesday night truck meets, and we have them every other Tuesday right now. They're out in Westminster, California, and we want to say we have a consistent 60 to 70 trucks show up every other Tuesday. And it's been an awesome road, and the support from everyone is great. And so every other Tuesday we do that, and then once a year we head out to Slash X for our annual fundraiser. We do some, like a New Year's trip. We post on our social media saying everyone's welcome to come out, things like that. Big event weekends we do post, and we'd love to have a bunch of people come out and hang out and meet everyone and get to know people. So, the event's been huge, and our Tuesday nights have been huge, so it's just been a really great turnout.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, I was just browsing the Facebook page before, before you called in, and just looking at the support you guys have garnered, and and I know it's funny because we started talking a few months back, and you had a few sponsors involved, and now looking, you guys keep posting updates, and I see the amount of, the amount of people getting involved. It's like you guys are running out of spaces on the poster,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that too.
That's always a good problem to have, though, right?
It is, definitely.
So, anybody that wants to come out, or anybody that wants to vend, or our sponsor wants to get involved, and what's the best place to get a hold of you or find out more information?
They can check out our Instagram. It's going to be SoCal_Offroad Trucks, or they can find us on Facebook at that same thing, SoCal Offroad Trucks. Or they can shoot me an email, SoCal_offroadtrucks@yahoo.com. I'd love to give you some more information about it, and would love to have more and more people come out.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a blast, and I can only imagine. I mean, how many? What are your predictions? I mean, you've done it a couple years now. I mean, as far as trucks, what are you looking at truck wise? You think count or people out there?
Probably looking around 500 trucks, probably 600 to 700 people this year. We've tripled our vendor list. We've got 10 vendors coming out. They'll have merchandise there at show specials, which is going to be awesome for people that normally don't get to come out and save that kind of money. You get to do it here at the event, which is nice. And like I said, we have, I want to say, 38 sponsors on board this year. So it's awesome. It's grown, and that's what it's all about. Yeah,
well, and I'm just looking at the weather, and I know here it's been beautiful, in Arizona, and I'm going, gosh, you talk about a perfect, hopefully weather holds, but it sounds like it should be makings of a perfect event.
Absolutely. I sure hope the weather holds. It's been really consistent the last 2 years, so we're hoping for that this year too.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call in, Ashley, and good luck with the event. And, looking forward to you definitely have to shoot me some numbers after the event and keep us in the loop on how much you guys raised for Wishes for Warriors.
I definitely will, and I look forward to many more years with you, and I appreciate your support.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ashley.
Thanks.
All right, good catching up with Ashley, and that event going on this weekend. So definitely pull up all their info, SoCal Off-Road Trucks, and you can find out how to donate, or or how to get involved, or even go out and check out some of the trucks, or get or actually participate. But right now, we're going to roll into a Dirtfish Rally Report, brought to you by our good friends at Dirtfish Rally School. Find out more information on the web at www.dirtfish.com. And Dirtfish Rally School rally report for this week. I got to tell you, man, we got a lot to cram in here. First off, Desert Storm Rally happening this past weekend. Tingu Song ended up taking home the win there. I guess, had about 10 entries in that rally. Definitely numbers a little bit down from years past, but sounds like a solid rally nonetheless. But big congrats goes out to him. So, that was happening in Blythe, California. So a lot of you living in the Southwest, never say we don't have stage rally in the Southwest. We do. You just got to look for it. But big news coming out of both, GRC and World Rallycross this weekend. Big one is Olsberg announcing their big announcement, their team for this year, right? Olsberg's MSE, one of the super teams in Rallycross, announcing for the United States, Johnny Wieman. He is back. But even bigger, we finally found out where Mitchell DeYoung landed. Mitchell DeYoung lands with Olsbergs in a Red Bull car. Probably no surprise, because he he did run lights under the Olsberg's banner last year, obviously with some Red Bull backing, but landing in supercars, I believe the youngest supercar driver in history, 17 years old, going to be running supercars this year under the Olsberg's banner. I'm definitely reaching out to Mitchell. We're going to get him on air soon, guaranteed. But teaming up with Yanni Wieman, and I got to tell you, those two, they're going to make a force in Red Bull GRC this year. And then also announcing their WRX lineup, both Backrud and Rainis Nittis back. Solid 1-2 there. Bringing in a third driver, though, Timur Zanov. He is, he's just a force. A lot of you know him from the United States. He filled in for Pastrana and Bryce Menzies in the Dodges, the Red Bull Dodges, a few years back. He's going to be running the Red Bull banner in WRX. So big for both Timur and for Olsberg's, bringing him under the banner. I mean, he is one of the best rallycross drivers in the world. So for him to make that announcement that he's going to be under the Olsberg's banner, definitely look for him to be a force in WRX this year. Also, Dave Mira, WRX having their big media day. Dave Mira sounds like he may be pegged for a seat in WRX. I know he was over there at media day doing interviews. I haven't heard any formal announcements. Everything I read was that Dave Mira is just looking at all options type of thing. I don't think there's been a formal announcement. A lot of teams, one in particular being thrown around, but I'm not one to speculate on things. So Dave Mira was in the house at WRX Media Day this past weekend. I'm going to reach out to Dave, find out, and I can guarantee we'll have Dave on air if and when he makes the announcement he's running WRX. But Dave Mira, do know that he was in Europe this weekend for WRX Media Day, and he is possibly pegged for a seat in that series. If it is indeed true, we know he was over there, but if it is indeed true, he gets signed, that's huge. Dave, obviously remember him from the Mini. Solid effort there for a couple of rounds at the end of, what was it, not 2014, 2013, I believe, and couldn't pick up a seat for last year. But the big news coming out of the Mira camp. Also, Petter Solberg, Liam Doran creating a super team in WRX. They're teaming up, going to go after that team title, but I don't know, man. Solberg, Doran, both of them, I guess, going to be running the same vehicles as last year. It's just basically a mashup of creating a team. I don't know. I mean, both of them solid effort, and you got to think if there's going to be an information share there, the guys are going to be a force in WRX. So Solberg, Doran, they are teaming up. And, lots of GRC and WRX news. I will be in the house at GRC Media Day out in Long Beach this Thursday. So next week, definitely be tuned because we're going to have a lot more GRC news and hopefully catch up with Mr. Chris Leone from Red Bull GRC as well. And then also wanted to make mention next week we're going to do a big segment dedicated to the Oregon Trail Rally. But in the meantime, go to OregonTrailRally.com if you're going to be up there in the Portland area. FanFest stages. Tickets are now on sale online. If you wait until the gate, you are going to have to wait in line. Always have packed lines there, so you're better to go to OregonTrailRally.com and purchase those tickets online if you're going to the FanFest stages. And that has been your Dirtfish Rally Report for this week. Brought to you by our good friends at Dirtfish Rally School. Find out more information on the web at www.dirtfish.com. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, Ami Houde, she's going to be calling in. We're going to have Amber Balcaen calling in. And a whole lot more to come. We still got Supercross. We still got Polaris Razor UTV news. Lots to come here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our Razor vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Baja, check. King of the Hammers, check. Crandon, check. The Mint 400, check. Only one wheel company can say they have dominated the deserts and rocks of the Southwest to the mud and carnage of the big house at Crandon, and that company is KMC Wheels. KMC Wheels has won them all with the help of elite drivers like Travis Pastrana, Ricky Johnson, Bryce Menzies, Carl Renazetter, and Lauren Healy, who all rely on the XD Series from KMC Wheels to get them to the finish line and on top of the podium. Check out KMC Wheels and their full line of XD Series wheels at KMCWheels.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at KMC Wheels. KMC Wheels, like no other. For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Come to the island and rip it up this summer. Wakeboard Island. It's a skate park on water at Blue Water Resort and Casino. Check out the 2-tower cable system that pulls you and your board over the water. No boats to watch out for, no fumes. Wakeboard Island is open to all skill levels with an open center section for beginners. And for trick riders, a double side kicker in a 60-foot flat box. Wakeboard Island, the best ride this side of the Rockies. Adjacent to the River's Edge Cantina at Blue Water Resort and Casino on the Colorado River in Parker, Arizona.
Rigid Industries is the original and #1 LED light bar manufacturer in the world. Torture tested by some of the best drivers in motorsports. Rigid LED lighting products use cutting-edge technology and can stand up to the harshest conditions Mother Nature can dish out. Designed, engineered, and assembled in the United States, Rigid LED lighting is the only choice for your off-road vehicle or boat. Find out more information on the entire line of Rigid Industries LED lighting products at www.rigidindustries.com.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. I'm your host, Jim Beaver, and it looks like we got our first caller. We got Ami Houde, Amber Balcaen calling in. How's everything going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Amy. All is good with me. How was your weekend? I know you hit the track, right?
Oh, my gosh, it was awesome. We had our first super nice weekend out. I even think I got a little bit of a suntan. But, yeah, I head out to our local track here, and we, had a whole family came down and lots of my friends, and we had a big barbecue and rode all day. It was so awesome. It was really good testing out, all my new stuff on my bike and just getting ready for race season. It's about that time.
Yeah, I know you guys have fought through the winter and some harsh weather, and you've been doing some ice riding, but now it sounds like, you got to be excited, finally able to hit the dirt. And I know, that bike, you were telling me you picked it up, and I know you got a new suspension put on it, and got to be pumped to finally have that on track, huh?
Oh, no, definitely. This year is, one of my first years I've had some factory suspension. I've been getting a lot of help from Olin's. They just did up my kit, and I got to test it out for the first time on a hard pack track. A little different, obviously, if you ride in the pits and in the sand to a hard pack track, but I really got the feel and dialed it in, and people were lining up to try my bike. That suspension was so, so sick. So huge shout-out to Olin's. I can't thank them enough for helping me out because, as a smaller rider, suspension is a huge, huge part of my race program that, I've been dealing with head shake and, my bike bouncing around and kicking me left and right for years. I've never really found a good fit, and this is actually the first time I feel like extremely comfortable on the bike and in the rough stuff. It makes a huge, huge difference. I mean, obviously, you guys doing off-road know the value of good suspension, but, for a dirt bike too, and those smaller people, it's really imperative that we get something good dialed in. So I can't be happier.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, I know we've got you calling in, but you've got this segment now that we're kind of working into here, and I know you booked one of the guests today, a good friend of yours. Kind of give us the intro. I know she'll be calling in just a few minutes, but Amber Balcaen, give us the rundown. I know you and her very close, and she's a great racer in her own right.
Yeah, no, Amber Balcaen, one of my actually best friends, a Manitoba homegrown girl here. Actually, our families grew up together. The Balcans, there's a motocross side, and then there's a dirt track side, or cars, because her dad races sprint cars. So it was really cool, and it was pretty funny, because we've only met about maybe 5 years ago, and we couldn't believe our families have kind of kept us apart all these years, and, we just kind of met up through friends, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, how have we not met before? We both come from an only child family. Our fathers are, legends in their own right in the sport, and we're daughters following our dad's legacies, and, Amber is extremely talented. She's the first woman to win a dirt track championship here in Manitoba, and most recently she won the Rookie of the Year in her first year in a 410 sprint car. That's a huge, huge accomplishment. I mean, she's in a field of all men, and she won the Rookie of the Year. And last but not least, she just competed in the NASCAR Diversity Challenge. So she's been doing a whole bunch of really cool things. And, I can't wait for you guys to, hear about her journey and her, her stories and her successes. But, a huge obstacle, obviously, in the four-wheel side is funding. It's so much different compared to motocross, where, you just got to get a bike and you show up at the track and race. It's not like that in, dirt track, and, she's making her transition into asphalt racing. There's a huge, huge financial budget that, she needs to have, and she is busting her butt to be able to make her dreams reality. And, it's so inspiring, and it's so cool to have a friend like that who, is on the same page as you. You're chasing the similar dreams, but, you're in different sports. So it's really cool. We really help each other out and help guide each other. And we always have these big heart-to-heart conversations over a glass of wine where, we're just kind of diving into the challenges and, our hardships and kind of what we're struggling with and what we're trying to overcome. So it's really cool to have a friend like Amber. But where's she at? 12:30.
Actually, here she is right there. You were like right on point, right on cue. We got to welcome Amber Balcaen to the air along with Ami Houde. How's everything going, Amber?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing solid. So Amy's been telling us all your deep, dark secrets.
Oh, no. She knows a lot of them. So. Just kidding.
No, she was kind of give us the intro, and obviously I've been aware of you for quite some time. Obviously, Amy, a good friend of mine and kind of co-host here. I don't know quite what we call her yet, but we're figuring that out. But, she was telling me, about your guys' relationship, and I think it's pretty cool that both of you have each other. I mean, obviously, both only children and both, very competitive, at an elite level in both your respective sports. So it's kind of got to be kind of cool to have somebody to be able to talk to that's on the same level as you.
Definitely, especially where we're from in Winnipeg, Canada. Racing's not that big, definitely not as big as the States. And it's kind of funny because her dad is, kind of the man of motocross in Manitoba, and my dad's kind of the man of dirt track racing in Manitoba. So we thought it was crazy that we hadn't met yet, and because we only met probably about 4 years ago or so, and we've been friends ever since, obviously. But when we met each other, we're like, how have our dads not introduced us? Because our dads knew each other and everything, and it took a little while, but but it was awesome that we finally got to meet, and obviously we're great friends now. Yeah,
well, and I know you guys have a lot of fun together. Obviously, Amy's got her YouTube series, and I know you guys have done a couple of videos together, and I always get a kick out of all of Amy's stuff, but the ones with you two in particular, I think they're a riot.
Yeah, and those are all very spontaneous, too. They weren't planned. We were just kind of sitting at home one weekend bored and started talking about some topics and then made a video about it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you in 2015, because I know you've had some big stuff. Obviously, Amy kind of introed and said you were part of the NASCAR Diversity Challenge, and then obviously I think you got your ARCA license recently.
Yeah, 2014 was an awesome year for me. I got to do a lot and had a lot of great opportunities. But the one unfortunate thing about racing, especially at the NASCAR level or any kind of race level, I guess, it's super, super expensive. And if you're not brought up in a wealthy family, you got to go and get sponsors. And it's really tough. And that's kind of what I've been struggling with lately, is just all winter I've been trying to get sponsors. And, I had got my ARCA license because it looked like I had an ARCA ride. And then the sponsorship kind of fell through for that. And then I still had my sprint car ride, and then the sponsorship kind of fell through for that. So the last couple of months have been tough, but that's all part of chasing your dreams, right? You have the ups and downs. So I'm just I'm keep working at it right now.
Yeah. Well, in talking, I know you ran the Chili Bowl as well, right? You went down there, it was an all-female team at the Chili Bowl. That had to be cool. I mean, Chili Bowl, I've never been there. I've got a lot of friends that have spent some time there, but that's a huge event.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was something that was on my bucket list, and I got to do, and it was amazing being part of Shannon McQueen's race team. Very professional team put together, good equipment, and just her and Michelle Decker, great, fun girls to be around. I was super lucky to do that, and I hope that I can get the sponsorship and do that again in January, because that was pretty cool running against the greatest of the greats of racing.
Yeah. Well, I got to ask you, lead into some questions from Amy, but Amy ever get you out on a dirt bike out on track?
Oh, she did, yeah, definitely. Last year. And she said I did pretty good, so.
You know what? I was really, really impressed. Amber, I'd never actually seen Amber on a dirt bike before, and I took her out on my 250 four-stroke. So a little bit of a bike to handle, for one of your first times. And we thought it'd be funny to strap a pillow to her butt and her backside, just so she doesn't wreck the goods. Don't want to hurt the athlete. But I sent her out on the floodway, so we have this thing called the floodway here, and it was really early spring, so, the ground was pretty wet, and it had huge, huge rain ruts, but you couldn't really see because of the grass that had been growing in. So I sent Amber out down the straightaway with these, knee-deep rain ruts, and all you see is her bobbing in and out of these freaking rain ruts, and I honestly thought she was going to die, and I was terrified for my life. But it was the funniest thing ever. And she just managed to move that bike like a race car. And it was, honestly, it was like a happy mother moment. I was so proud of her. It was awesome. So, it just kind of shows how adaptable female riders are. When you can do one sport, you're really, adaptable and able to kind of, transfer your skills into anything else. And that's a pretty cool thing about women athletes, is we're, well-rounded athletes. We can do it all. And Amber proved that point.
Well, I know, Amy, obviously, you know Amber very well. I'm sure you've got some questions for her, some of the hard-hitting questions, just because you know her so well and know her program and everything. What do you got for Amber?
Well, I really want Amber to kind of share her story. We did talk about, funding and how important, having this financial backing for racing is. And, Amber, I do want you to share your story of kind of the steps that you're taking to reach out to sponsors and get that financial backing that you need to get yourself to the races. Because I've known you've done some really cool things with crowdfunding, and, you've taken some big steps with quitting your job and, moving out of town to focus on, reaching out to sponsors. But just share your story, because a lot of people don't know what kind of effort goes into all this stuff for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like Amy and I talked about before, I was grown up in a racing family. So it's kind of been in my blood forever, but at a young age, my dad said, if you want to do this, Amber, you got to find the funding for yourself. So I have ever since I was 16, and some years are easier to find the funding than others, and last year I had an awesome year in the sprint car. I got Rookie of the Year, had some top 3 finishes, won some heat races. I got to go to the Combine, the NASCAR Diversity Combine. I got my ARCA license, so it was a great year, and I thought all the positive press about me and everything would make it a lot easier to get sponsors. And for some reason, it still didn't. It's just, I think it seems harder and harder to get sponsors every year. For how I got the funding for the ARCA test was actually through crowdfunding, and this is something I'd never done before, but because it's really hard to provide a return on investment to a sponsor for a test. So the reason why I did the crowdfunding for the test was just because, I guess you can't really provide the return on investment to a sponsor, unlike the actual races. So I try to get sponsors for the races, and if I can get the crowdfunding for the test, then it kind of works out. But yeah, it's been really, really tough to get sponsors. I moved out to a small town for a couple months to sit at a desk 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, just calling sponsors, obviously not making any money doing it. And it's been tough, but you just gotta keep going. Sometimes you gotta, I definitely have my mental breakdown every month, or probably a week and a half or so, but then you just pick up and keep going again.
Yeah. Well, how has
Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, well, I'm curious. How has it been? Because obviously, running ARCA, Chili Bowl, NASCAR. A lot of that is American. Has there been challenges being a Canadian, trying to break through on the American side of things?
Oh, absolutely. Because locally here, I race in North Dakota, which is in the States. So if I go to Canadian sponsors in Manitoba, where I live, they don't want to sponsor me because I'm racing in the States, and then the States doesn't really want to sponsor me because I'm Canadian. So, people say, oh, you're an attractive girl, it should be no problem getting sponsors. And I'm like, well, I'm also Canadian, so that kind of makes things harder too. Actually, a guest that you had on the show, I think a week or two ago, Steve Arpin, he's kind of went through a similar path that I'm on now, except he's obviously much further in his career, and I'm very lucky to know him, and he actually kind of acts as my mentor. Sometimes I'll call him up and say, hey, Steve, what do I do, and how do I get there? And he's been really great towards me.
Yeah, Steve, I've got to know him pretty well over the past couple of years, and just a class act. And his story, much like yours, he didn't start with much. He snowmobiles, and then, obviously went dirt tracking and went through the NASCAR. Now he's in GRC. But, it's kind of cool to know that he's a friend of yours and kind of mentoring you, because I think he's probably gone through a lot of the same process as you, especially being a Canadian and then trying to break in the United States.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. And, if I could have moved to North Carolina a couple of years ago, I would have. I want to live in the States, but the government doesn't make it super easy. So everything from sponsors to getting to move down to the States to do I take this path or this path, Steve's definitely someone that I can call, and that's great because there's not a lot of Canadian NASCAR drivers or Canadians or really anyone who's made it up as far as Steve Arpin has. So definitely fortunate to take advice from him every once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Amy, you got anything left for Amber?
Well, Amber, I want you to talk a little bit about the fact of being a female in a male-dominated industry. Obviously, dirt track and asphalt racing totally different than motocross. We have a huge women's motocross series, a women's professional team and all that kind of stuff, a little bit more options for women racing in motocross. Has there been, has being a girl been a challenge, or has it been, a good opportunity in your type of racing?
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit of both. For example, last year when I raced the 410 sprint car, I was the only female at that track. So obviously I got a lot of publicity and had a lot of fans, and that kind of stuff is great. It's so awesome seeing a lineup of people at your car at the end of the race. Because they know you're the only girl on the track and stuff. So, stuff like that is awesome. But then at the same time, sometimes it's kind of hard to be taken seriously by some of your competitors. I like to think that I'm respectable on the racetrack and I'm competitive, but some guys just don't like to see a girl in a race car or be beat by a girl in a race car. But
they don't like getting beat by a girl.
Exactly, yeah. But then there's awesome things like the NASCAR Diversity Combine. If I wasn't a girl, that wouldn't make me diverse, and I wouldn't have been able to be in the NASCAR Combine. So that, I think, the NASCAR Combine opened so many doors for me and really kind of boosted my confidence in where I could take my career. And that's definitely something I'm looking forward to improving on is my pavement experience. Well, pretty much because I don't have any or that much yet, but Yeah, so the goal this year is to do some more testing with Rev Racing. That's who puts on the combine. And go back there, try out again, and see if I can get a spot on the NASCAR K&N team with them next year.
Yeah. Well,
that's awesome. So what are... Sorry, Jim?
No, well, I was
it's
just
hard
going
to... We're all not together.
Yeah, well, no, it's just, to me, the whole conversation's interesting. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword being a female racing then. I mean, there is some opportunities there, but then on the flip side, I mean, you know, there's almost like a glass ceiling at times, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I think also with sponsors, they can potential sponsors, they can either look at it one of two ways. They can look at it, oh, she's a girl, so she'll probably get lots of exposure, or they can look at it as, oh, she's a girl, so she's probably not a good race car driver. Because unfortunately, most females get that rep of not being a good race car driver, even though I feel like I have a pretty good resume to back up my skills, but not everyone sees it that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got something for Amy?
Well, I kind of play the other side of the fence in racing. In motocross, I find being a female kind of opens some doors to sponsors. And, you are right, Amber. A lot of people can take it one way or the other, but your results do speak for yourself. And if you're, an accomplished racer, especially like Amber, some huge, huge feats under your belt, girl, like, props out to you. You really got to milk those because, you're one of the only Canadian racers who have some of those things accomplished. So, with a credible resume and a great public image, being able to speak about your brand, represent your brand, I do think females have a really extra edge compared to men, where a lot of people like to look at girls in ads, and especially if you can ride it or drive it, man, you got the full package deal. So women just got to learn how to be able to market themselves and trust that they are good racers, and if they can put that message out to the sponsors, we can compete right with those guys. So
definitely, I agree.
So right now, plans for 2015. I mean, kind of up in the air at the moment, Amber. Or you gonna do you have a fallback plan? I mean, for this year, running there locally. I mean, what's on tap for 2015 for Amber Balcaen?
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing is for sure for this year because it all depends on funding. But what I'm hoping to do is a little bit of sprint car racing again in North Dakota in my 410 sprint car, and then also doing some testing in a couple races with Rev Racing in their late model asphalt program down in North Carolina to really get my feet wet in the asphalt racing and hope to better myself for the combine in the fall.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Talking about Steve Arpin, and I know obviously in Canada, Rally's got a big following. Being a Canadian, who knows? Maybe we see you in Rallycross at some point, right?
I mean, if it's got wheels and motor, I'll drive it.
Amber, would you ever consider a career in racing motocross?
Actually, yeah, I'm not sure if I told all the time. I'm not sure if I've told you this, Amy, but I actually did want to start in motocross when I was a young girl. And my parents said it was too dangerous, so they put me in a go-kart. And then 10 years later, my mom lets me race a 900-horsepower sprint car. So I don't really know their logic, but
yeah, I've seen you flip your car once. That seems way more scary than flipping a dirt bike. So, but if you ever want to, you got a friend who can teach you how. So, it'd be pretty cool if it was. It would be pretty cool if it was as easy to kind of, transfer between sports, if it was easy for me to show up at one of your races and be able to hop in a car and try it, as you to come down and just, try out a dirt bike. So it's not as easy for someone like me to get involved in your sport. So it's something you really got to kind of grow up in. Do you find a lot of more racers in your sport grow up in it and don't just kind of buy a car when they're 25 years old? What's the dynamic there like?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very family-oriented sport, which I'm sure motocross is too. But yeah, most people, their dad raced or or they've just been around the racetrack forever as a fan. Obviously, my mom grew up in racing. My dad was a fan forever and then started racing at a young age. So I obviously grew up in it. And I think most people do because every time people are like, oh, you're a race car driver? Like, how'd you get into that? Like, you don't look like you'd want to do that. But, just there's nothing else I know. It's my life, which I'm sure you can say the same about motocross.
Yep. Yeah, just got to stick it out. So. Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
Really cool. And what's the end goal, Amber? What is your ideal dream of what you want to accomplish before you ever, pack up your helmet and call it a day? So what is that end goal for you?
My end goal is to be in the NASCAR Cup Series. I want to go all the way. I'm someone who has big dreams and will do whatever it takes to get there. I think it could be realistic and kind of like a 5-year plan if I get into the NASCAR K&N Series next year and just slowly make my way up to Cup. But I think NASCAR Cup needs another female besides Danica to race those boys.
Well, and do you feel like,
awesome.
do you feel like, some of these other females, obviously, Sarah Fisher on the IndyCar side of things, we're talking like 10 years ago, but she came, from a similar background as you, and now Danica, do you feel like, they have helped open some doors, making it a little bit easier to make that transition up the ladder?
Oh, absolutely. If it wasn't for people like Sarah Fisher and Danica Patrick, I don't even think I would believe that it's possible for me to even think about going to NASCAR. But it's like, if these chicks can do it, like if I work hard enough, maybe I can do it too. So they're definitely inspiring. I have a lot of respect for both of them.
Yeah, definitely.
And everybody that I've met, Amber has the right attitude. She kind of has that never settle attitude where, she's overcome a lot of challenges, and it never brags on her confidence and her, positive mindset that she's going to make it happen. And, every year I feel like she does get more confident, which is, that's going to help you get there, Amber. So a lot of people should look up to your, how you view racing. Really, it truly is inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. So, Amber, before we let you go, where can people find out more information on you and your program, and and find out the latest on what you've got going on?
Yeah, for sure. They can follow me on Twitter at Amber Balcaen 10 or on Instagram at Amber Balcaen 10. I also have a website, amberbalcaenracing.com, and my sponsorship proposal is on there. So if you want to see more about me, what we can offer for sponsors, all that information's on my website.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call in today, and it's great catching up. And you'll definitely have to keep us in the loop on on how 2015 materializes, and maybe once we get things figured out for this season, we'll get you back on air.
Absolutely, I'd really like that. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Amber.
Yep. All right, you girl. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Yeah, great catching up. Great catching up with Amber, Amy. I mean, talk about a girl that's definitely, I looked into her resume. I mean, anybody that goes to Chili Bowl, I mean, that's legit right
Seriously.
there. Obviously, NASCAR Combine, I mean, 410 sprints, Rookie of the Year. I mean, she definitely got a good base to take it to the next level.
No, definitely. And, I mean, she comes from pedigree. She comes from a long history of family racing, her dad and her grandpa. If you see her on the track, she is so talented. She can have a bad start and come from the back of the pack and, make her way through a tight, crazy track like that, with only, 10 laps they got or 15 or whatever. But, I mean, she's an extremely talented racer, and she is not afraid to hold it on the gas. I really love watching her race. She's really aggressive. But, again, she's kind of got this, hidden talented resume with all these cool things that she's done. And she's just a little girl from Winnipeg. So it just shows, what she's capable of. And, without a silver spoon, without, huge financial backing, she does everything on her own and, makes it happen for herself. So, if any teams out there or sponsors looking to get on board a, really talented, hardworking girl, Amber Balcaen is the one that you guys want to contact. She's a great person.
Yeah, for sure. So before we let you go, we gotta talk a little bit of Supercross here. Obviously, I was able to watch it when I was up in Colorado. Dungey, he did it. Webb, he did it. I mean, we knew it was coming.
Yep.
But we're crowning 2 champs.
No, definitely. What an awesome weekend of racing. If you didn't get the chance to watch it, I would go back and watch the C50 highlights because it was a crazy weekend of racing. Oh my gosh, a lot of crashes, unfortunately, but everybody was kind of out balls to the wall, just trying to make it happen. I don't know if they had the West Coast had a little bit of time off, so they're just itching to ride and race against each other. But there were some, there was a finish line passes in the LCQ. It was just crazy. But hats off to Dungey and Cooper for doing it, and Steely pulling a 450 win this weekend. Huge accomplishment for him. it was a really fun weekend of racing to watch. So,
yeah,
yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then Malcolm Stewart sneaking a podium there too in the 250s. A third place, and he took a win earlier this year. I think definitely he's stepped up his game this year.
Well, and I don't know if you had the chance to see, but him and who's the other one? I can't even think about it right now. But two top riders made it into the LCQ in 250, and Stewart made a finish line pass over the finish line. Like, I think it was a 0.1 millisecond off where he won, but it was crazy. You got to check out Racer X online to see the photo finish. It was pretty crazy. I mean, those guys just hung it all out this weekend. But, consistency pays off. Dungey didn't even have to have the win, and he won the overall. So it just shows that riding smart, riding consistent, will help you win a championship. So, I mean, Cooper Webb just looked ecstatic, hugging his mom, thanking all the sponsors. It's really cool to see, riders who are extremely appreciative and really family-orientated. And Cooper is just, one lucky kid. He's really young, and he's going to have a really long, successful career. You could really tell. So
yeah.
I can't wait for outdoors, man. I'm so excited. It's going to be heated.
Yeah. Well, and one quick question for you. 450s, obviously, Dungey, he's got it clinched up. What do you think is going to happen these next couple of races? Obviously, championships have been decided. Do you think these other guys, they've got nothing to lose? Do you think we may see some different winners because, there's nothing to lose, so why not just go for it?
I do. I mean, look at Seeley. Dungey just kind of played it smart and smooth and rode consistently. And, Seeley was out to kill. He was riding extremely, extremely well. But I feel like Tomac now, has something to prove, and he needs to get a couple more wins to, get up there in the point. So I do see the podium shaking up here a lot. I don't know if Dungey will be able to, finish. I don't think he wants to finish first these next couple of rounds. He's kind of just smooth sailing, doesn't want to get hurt for outdoors. But you've got to remember, outdoors is just a few weekends away. So a lot of these riders still want to play it safe because there's a long outdoor season ahead. So I see a lot of wins from Seeley and Tomac. I see some good battles coming around there. But I do think people are going to be playing it safe.
Yeah, for sure. What's on tap for you this week? I know, obviously, what's up next? You're going to Vegas, I know for sure, right?
Yes, I am. I cannot wait. Unfortunately, they have that fight going on in Vegas the same weekend as the Supercross, so a lot of hotels are booked up for $1,000 a night, which really, really sucks for the fans and spectators. And, I hope everybody can actually make it out there and watch the race and don't have to go bankrupt over it. But, I'll be there in full swing. East-West Shootout is always really interesting to ride, but I'm actually kind of interested to see who is not going to step up to the East-West Shootout. I know a lot of riders, don't want to play play any chances with, getting hurt before outdoors. And I know there's a lot of teams who don't really want to rival and race against each other because they don't want to lose that edge on their teammate, who beats you kind of thing. So I'm really interested in seeing who steps up and who makes it, and again, who's the better rider out of the team. So I'm excited for that. But Vegas is always awesome. It's a long night, and you don't get out of there till like 1 o'clock at night, but it'll be great. And then followed up with the Supercross banquet and awards. And it'll just be a really good weekend. I can't wait to actually see some live racing again.
Yeah.
But for me, I have a motocross wedding this weekend. A huge motocross family all going and having a good time. And then I'll be riding myself too. So I'm kind of back in action, getting training, stepping it up. And, I feel really confident this year in my racing. I don't know if I told you, but my goal is hopefully to point out in the 250B class and be the first Canadian to race men's A class. So that's my goal this year. So I got a lot of work ahead of me, being strong and consistent and, hopefully being able to move to pro by the end of the year. So that's my goal.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely be keeping tabs on it all year long. And, I guess we'll see you next Monday for some more radio.
You might not. I might have to call in a bit early because I have to get my wisdom teeth out next week. And I'm extremely nervous about it, and I'm actually probably going to be a big wiener and cry. I mean, I can huck my dirt bike over a 120-foot triple and crash my face off, and I'm not usually scared. But I am so terrified of needles that I am dreading getting my wisdom teeth out because I'm going under, and I'm just terrified. I'm terrified even talking about it. It's not fun. It's not fun.
Ouch. I want to see selfies after it happens.
Oh, you will. I'll send you pictures of my chipmunk face. You know what would be pretty funny? If we called in after the sedation wore off, because you're pretty crazy.
Oh, that would be hilarious. I got to tell you, I know how you are in the morning because you said, in Vegas, you go, give me a wake-up call. So I call your room, and I tell you what, I wish I had it recorded. And I'm thinking,
I don't even remember. I actually do not, because, I had a couple bubblies in Vegas, of course, and, I don't even remember you calling me in the morning to wake me up. So that's how that went.
Yeah. All right, Amy. Well,
way to put me on blast, Jim. Come on.
All right. Well, we'll catch up with you next week, and we'll figure something out for next week. We'll work around the wisdom teeth.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot, Amy.
Have a good one.
All right.
Get back to Richard.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye.
All right, that was Ami Houde, Amber Balcaen before that, calling in, and Amy with her weekly segment, but running a little bit short on time. But I did want to make mention Winter Terracross Ultimate Snowmobiler. I was up there and actually had the opportunity to race in Winter Terracross. We're going to have a lot of media brought out about that, so stay tuned to my account. We'll give you a full recap of Winter Terracross and the Ultimate Snowmobiler next week. Just flat ran out of time this week, but I got to thank Polaris Razor, General Tire, Rigid Industries, Dirtfish Rally School, UPR.com, Blue Resort and Casino, Wakeboard Island, Jmar Performance Brakes, KMC Wheels, Parker Motor Company, Gibson Performance Exhaust, MTX Audio, the official audio provider of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, and Intense Tees. Also, Amber, Ryan, Marty, Amy, Ashley. Man, it was a stacked show today. If you're just tuning in, definitely want to skip back and catch up some of the archives. Upcoming events, we got Supercross, Lucas Oil, Torque, Score, Baja Sur, Stadium Super Trucks, World Rally Championship, Rally America Oregon Trail, and SoCal Off-Road Trucks. That fundraising event going on this weekend. Give me a follow at JimBeaver15 on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook.com/Down and Dirty Show for all the back episodes. And be sure and download our app, available on Apple iTunes, Google Play, and the Amazon Kindle store. Just search Down and Dirty Radio Show. It'll pull right up. Got to thank all of you for listening in each and every week, and it's been a great show. We got a big show lined up next week. We're going to talk some Oregon Trail Rally. Ami Houde will be back, and a lot of mega guests lining up over the next couple of weeks. You want to be watching social media for that. Have a great week. Hopefully you enjoyed the racing action this weekend. We got more of it on tap this upcoming weekend. We'll be back next Monday with more Down and Dirty Radio Show powered by Polaris Razor. We'll see you next week. Game on.